He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who doesn't rhyme. It's Bat Minutes!
Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Bat Minutes of the Phantasm. This is the podcast where our business is always fun. That business being talking about 1993's Batman Mask of the Phantasm, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan. And here's usually where the co-host who's been here like nearly every other episode, John Parker, would say hello, but unfortunately John has been called away. An urgent bat business. Not sure what it is, and quite frankly, I don't want to know. But I do have a guest here, and obviously because I'm not going to be sitting just talking into the air by myself. We have a director who's, considering the character who's introduced in this minute, has a passing familiarity with that character at the very least. We're here with, how would you want to introduce yourself, Vera? Director, writer, director, actor extraordinaire, Vera Drew?
Sure. I never feel good about introducing myself, but that was a perfect introduction.
Feel free to just take that audio clip and just play it before anything else now.
No, it's good to have. Send me an MP3 so I can just play that before I start talking anywhere.
But yeah, people don't know you, Vera. You have a fair bit of notoriety in terms of the DC comic fandom circles in recent years, because you're the director and star of and writer of The People's Joker, which is, I don't know if you want to, I feel you would do a better job describing what The People's Joker is than I would, although I'm sure you had to describe it so many times, so.
No, but it's a podcast. I'll describe it. I like talking about it. I mean, like, everybody feels weird like bringing up Batman to me and stuff now, but like Batman's just been my life for like 3 years, so like it's kind of probably what I mostly feel comfortable talking about. But yeah, I made a movie called The People's Joker. It's about an unfunny transgender clown named the Joker who it's kind of a queer coming of age story set in Gotham City. It sort of follows this character while she tries to become a comedian, and also figures out she's trans. And I always like to say it's 100% parody. I did originally put an illegal Joker movie on the poster when we first started talking about it.
Yeah, it had a real outlaw kind of reputation about it there for a while. I think that was what that really did drum up a lot of like, ooh, it's the movie. It's got that thing of like, you can't even watch it. It's so forbidden. Vera Drew can't even watch it. It's locked away like the Warner Brothers in the water tower.
Completely, and I don't recommend anybody ever do that for their movie. Beyond like, I mean I guess like we premiered it at Toronto International Film Festival, and basically like 2 nights before we were supposed to premiere, I got a call, the call I was always wondering if I was going to ever get, because like I announced I was making this movie like 2 years ago. Like I worked for Warner Brothers for almost a decade on like Adult Swim shows, and I'm friends with people who work in the Harley Quinn writers room. Like Warner Brothers is known. I was doing this for years, but they waited until like 2 days before my premiere to basically just like say like they sent us this very like simple email that was like, we need to watch the movie so that we can form an opinion on it, is what they said, which you never want to hear about your legal Joker movie. But yeah, so we sent them a link, and I had like a weekend, because this was the Friday. We were supposed to premiere on a Tuesday. We get this message from them on a Friday. So I had the entire weekend to just kind of sit there and sweat it out. And we got to the end of Monday night and hadn't heard from them. So everybody on my team, we're all in Toronto because, we're set to premiere on that Tuesday, and we hadn't heard from them. So we just assumed like, okay, I guess it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we started celebrating, and, drinking a lot and having fun and getting excited finally about the movie, because it seemed like it wasn't maybe gonna happen there for a second. And then I got a call, about like 3 old fashions in, I got a call from my manager saying Warner Brothers just came back to us with a strongly worded letter that says they do not agree with the premise that this movie was falls under parody and fair use. They were really nice, really nice, and like it was almost like it was like going on a date with like a shitty dude or something, because they like said all of that, and then they were like, Vera did a really good job putting this together, and her story's moving, I guess, was basically what it said, and signed, whatever Warner legal department, and so yeah, and like full, pretty much everybody, like all the suits on my team at that point were pretty scared and like, what are we gonna do? Like, we should pull it. And I was like, no, I don't want to pull it from the festival. Like, let's just figure something else out. And thankfully we had this wonderful programmer. Is this okay? I'm just talking this much.
Oh yeah, by all means. Yeah.
It'll fill time. It's good. It's good. I'm assuming like whoever's listening to this is just doing laundry or something. So like, and I also really do want to go on the record about this stuff, because it's also not as dramatic as everybody thinks. Like, we didn't get a cease and desist. We just got those 2 exchanges from them.
Yeah.
And from there, like, like I said, like I was in Toronto, I was ready to premiere this. And so we talked to our like festival programmer and the head of TIFF, and they were like, let's see what we can do. And the programmer of TIFF Midnight Madness, which is like the section we premiered in, is this guy Peter Kaplowski, who really like vouched for us from the beginning and like really put himself and his job on the line to like get this movie screened. He spent all day trying to get through to the head of Warner Brothers in Canada. It was like that scene in like the movie Magnolia where like Philip Seymour Hoffman's trying to get through to Frank T.J. Mackey to tell him his dad's dying, and he's like, this is the part in the movie where the guy's asking for your help or whatever. And like Peter just basically did that and turned everything around, was able to negotiate with the head of Warner Canada and say like, listen, like we've got a packed theater full of people ready to see this movie. And like, I don't, this is paraphrasing, but basically like, we're TIFF and you're Warner Brothers. Like, do you want to screen movies here? Like, this is just some like,
do you want to screen movies, or do you want to have a TIFF? Because we're ready to TIFF with you right now.
Exactly. You started a TIFF.
Yeah.
And and thankfully, they basically were like, okay, cool, have your premiere. Just don't do any more press screenings. Is what they said.
But that's the thing, though, this is like pre the whole Batgirl debacle as well, isn't it? This
was right after. Actually.
Oh, it's right after. Like, holy.
So that was what was crazy about this too, man. Because it was like, when the Batgirl thing happened and the public reacted the way they did, I kind of assumed like that was even just more goodwill on our end, because like. I can't be clear enough. Like the movie does, like I understand why it's like sparked the conversations it has, because nobody's ever done anything like it before. But like it's a parody movie in the same exact way like Scary Movie is a parody movie. It's just like so happens to also be about like a trans woman, and like it's definitely the most anarchy you'll ever see in a Joker movie. And I think all of that is there's just no precedent.
This is the thing is though, like, you know, at least with when everything happened with Batgirl, they could come in and go like, well, the film's far from complete, and so we can just, you know, shelve it or
and
just dump it. And also the background thing was that the people who apparently behind the scenes who had seen it said like, oh no, it was unreleasable. Your thing is not only completely finished, it's also like wildly praised by everyone who's seen it as well. Like, it got great reviews and stuff. So it kind of feels like just
not their movie. Yeah, it's also like not their movie. Like at the end of the day, like, because like it doesn't, all the content in it is completely original. Like, it was crowdfunded. I used to host a web series called Hot Topics with Vera Drew, which is the only web series with the express purpose of getting Vera Drew sponsored by Hot Topic. And I never was sponsored by Hot Topic because I'm clearly too edgy for Hot Topic, even though all my clothes are Hot Topic clothes. But I on that show, that was where, you know, I kind of, this project sort of was born. And I, you know, said on, you know, I had this episode that was kind of just about mental health. It was for Mental Health Awareness Month. It was actually exactly 2 years ago now, or 3 years ago now, I guess. Because it was in May 2020 was when I announced it. And I said, you know, like, my friend Bree and I are writing this really gay Batman queer coming of age movie, and if anybody wants to help us do it, like, let us know. And I woke up the next day to like an inbox full of people who like it was hundreds of people wanted to get involved in this movie, and artists from like all disciplines, like actors and animators, matte artists, puppeteers, actors. It was just like,
I think that's the thing for people, because if the film itself isn't readily available yet, the trailer is.
Yeah. And
the one thing that really took me about it, which, you know, I was overjoyed to see, is that, because obviously we've been through 4 seasons of this show so far, and we're big Schumacher fans.
Oh,
and so to see like the people's Joker, and there's a lot of stills sees you kind of evoking the Arthur Fleck Joker, the Todd Phillips thing. But to watch the trailer, there's clearly a big sort of smattering of Schumacher all over the thing as well. It's got like it's got that vibrancy and that level of color. It's not the kind of dour New York scenes that the Todd Phillips portrays. It's like, no, it seems to be much more fun than that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the movie is dedicated to my mom and Joel Schumacher. It's really I love Joel Schumacher. He's like my top 3 directors. And like, I just think he's so underrated. I love Batman Forever. I love Batman and Robin. Like, the Batman Forever, I have like a really intense personal connection with, because like when I saw it when I was like 7, I basically realized I was trans, just like,
oh wow,
because of how like Nicole Kidman looked in it. and like you know, like, just, I think because it was like, you know, it was basically like watching somebody play with toys on a big budget level. And like being able to like see like these iconic figures, and like the way she, like, I mean, I think like her character is so actually like just a very interesting and well-developed character. I mean, like, it is funny because it's like she's like a smart psychologist or whatever, but like she's just obsessed with bats and like wants to sleep with bats. But like, it's just so
relentlessly horny. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I love it. And it's just so, and she like really, chews it up, and like it's hot, and like but like it also has she has agency. Like it doesn't, I don't know, like it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
it's a really it was really yeah, watching that movie in Baraboo, Wisconsin at 6 years old with my dad and my uncle Chaz was life changing.
Yeah, yeah.
And it really, yeah, the movie The People's Joker is really it's not only like doing the Schumacher thing, but it's just it's the whole, it's I really wanted to make a big mixed media pop art epic that like almost like took everything we know about Batman and the Joker and the DC canon and kind of like mix it all up and just compress it into itself and turn it inside out. And because it's 100% autobiographical, like off my life. Like I really took my life and just you know, like I helped start like a public access company or like a public access station called Highland Park TV, and the People's Joker, you know, in the People's Joker like helps start an illegal comedy theater called the Red Hood Playhouse and stuff.
Yeah,
So like it's
yeah.
really transposing my life onto that stuff. And like, and also like, you know, I feel like, you know, like our Batman in it is like, I mean, he's like a cop basically. Like he really is just like a cop, which I've seen like people online say like is Twitter brained or whatever, but like I've just never seen an actually fascist Batman, and ours is just like a fat dumpy Chicago cop. And like I want, you know, like I wanted to really show like, I just think in 2023 like, yeah, I love the Batman that is like brave and like does like stand up for,
Yeah.
you know, the
The
little
one who's
guy or
brave
whatever,
and
but
bold, some would say.
yeah, yes. And but I don't like, I just, you know, it's billionaires suck. Like I wanted to make a movie about how billionaires suck that also had a sexy trans Joker in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
By Vera Drew.
Yeah, I mean, like we'll get more into like the characterization of the Joker because and the legacy of the Joker because it's so strange it's changed even since the last time we talked about the Joker on this show in any like major level was back when we were doing the '89 movie, and that was like 5 years ago now. Like it's, you know,
Oh wow.
yeah, because like, you know, this movie's shockingly short in comparison. We're flying through this season, but the other ones are like 2 hours plus, and so when you're doing three minutes a week, it's like nearly a year to get through the whole damn thing. So, yeah, but even then, so they've done so much with the characters since we finished that. It's like, well, okay, I guess we have to play catch up with what the Joker is now. But should introduce though just for like the sake of like doing it.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about minute 38 though today of Mask of the Phantasm, which introduces or reintroduces to this show a very notable character. But it opens with an assault on automatons. And it ends a minute later with some shocking elder abuse. And yeah, so let's jump in here. Well, I should ask though, Vera, because obviously you're a big Batman fan, going back to like, was Batman Forever? Was that specifically your first Batman film, or were you already entrenched in the fandom, as it were?
That was my first. I think that was like when it really clicked for me. I know I had toys. I had 60s Batman toys though before that. And I also do vaguely remember watching the 60s, like reruns of the 60s show, like with my mom growing up and kind of enjoying it, but just kind of writing it off as like just like kind of another kid show. But yeah, I think Batman Forever was really when it all bloomed. And from there I did like start reading comics and stuff just because like I think that's when I fell in love with superheroes.
Yeah. Do you remember your first time seeing Mask of the Phantasm?
I don't. I was trying to think about that while I was rewatching it because like when did this come out?
It was 93, Christmas Day of 1993.
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, it definitely would have been on VHS.
I think that's what like, we've had our mission, and we actually succeeded, shockingly, was to try to find someone who saw it in theaters, because nobody did. Like, it was $6 million budget, and it didn't make that back. Like, it was a notorious box office bomb. But
it's crazy though, because it I wonder why. Like, I really wonder why, because like it is just such a, like, it doesn't feel like the animated series really to me at all.
Oh, really? Why so?
It just feels like its own thing. Like, I like it. I like it a lot, and I love the animated series as well, but like it's just a lot it's a lot more noir and like a lot more like gritty, I feel like, than they could do on television at that point with these characters. And like I'm just like shocked that, like, you know, like hardcore Batman comic fans didn't show up to it for it in theaters. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, like, just having gone through the experience I've gone through at this point, like, I think I've always had like a love-hate relationship with just how WB specifically has handled these characters. Because like I mean, like, I love pretty much every Batman thing they've ever put that I've seen, but like at the same time, like, there is just this weirdness and cynicism to it just throughout. Even like, I feel like even the fact that, like, and sorry, I know we're talking about a different movie today, but the fact that like Batman 89, like they knew they wanted Prince to do the music for it before they like even like had a script or whatever. Like, thank God Prince is like was the best. That thank God Prince was Prince, and like and the movie like was able to like really like build those songs into that, because like that's such just a dumb, weird, like, why, like, what executive was like, yeah, we need to put Prince music in in the first live action like serious portrayal of these characters.
Although I should say though, as well, one thing noting about the People's Joker that I got, like, we in particular really excited for it was if you listen back to our season on 89, two things that we really, really loved in that movie that never get the time of day shown to them by the DC universe at large. And one is Alexander Knox, and two is Bob the Goon. And I was happy to see Robert Wuhl appears in the People's Joker, and Bob the Goon appears in the People's Joker. I was like, finally someone's bringing these guys into the fold. Yeah. Not only is Bob the Goon there, played by Bob Odenkirk, which is like, it just gets better. Like, it would have been the perfect thing, I guess, would have been just like, you know, managing to find Tracy Walter somewhere. But we tried to find him that year, and he's a tough guy to track down. He's just gone. He's out of here. Yeah,
well, because he's basically just a dude. He's not like an actor, I don't think.
No,
he's like, he's pretty much just Jack Nicholson's friend. Yeah. Yeah, that in and of itself, the story behind like why Bob the Goon exists was why I knew Bob the Goon needed to be in the People's Joker, because like it literally was just like Jack Nicholson was like, this is my friend and he's gonna just be in the movie with me. And I'm gonna like slap him around and I'm gonna kill him.
Yeah. Oh no, we have our headcanon was that Bob survived, ended up in a hospital wing with Knox. And they became the best of friends, and they became the couple name for them would be Box. You know, they finally found each other, and then
I got to keep that in mind for the sequel to the People's Joker. Yeah. If you don't mind me ripping that one off.
Oh no, by all means. I was devastated too, though, because we almost had Robert Wuhl on that season. He agreed to come on. And then he just stopped replying, and I think it's because like we were making fun of Knox a lot, like, but we're making fun of him in like an affectionate way. But I think he might have felt we were trying to lure him in to make fun of him. It's like, by no means would we ever want to do that to Robert Wuhl. We love him in that movie. It's just that the character Knox is a guy you can make fun of quite easily.
No, I need to go on the record right now, and I think and just say, like, I think Robert Wuhl is one of the most underrated character actors of his generation, and is absolutely brilliant in Batman 89.
Yeah.
And I hope he is okay. that I used a cameo video that I purchased from him and put it in the People's Joker.
I don't even know a cameo was really. We could have just got him that way, I guess. But we
yeah,
did.
no, that's the way to do it, I think.
Yeah, we had a whole plan last season where we wanted to get Coolio on because he's in Batman and Robin, and we're gonna get the Coolio cameo.
Scarecrow.
Yeah, the Coolio, and then he died. I was like, oh no, this is terrible. It's like the worst possible thing that could happen for us. But no, yeah, so much love for Robert Wool. Like the amount of times the major lines from '89 I quote are all this. They say he can't be killed. They say he drinks blood. But anywho, minute 38, Mask of the Phantasm.
Yes, yeah.
We do get Sal Valestra, coming in, and the giant Metropolis robots burst back into life again, and they're suddenly decimated by a flurry of Tommy gun fire in particular. I love the detail that it's a Tommy gun because that's so old-timey and stuff. And
I love that he really is this just demented old gangster in this pretty much. Just like a gangster who's isolated himself.
Yeah. I love that as because one of the major themes of the film being just how the passage of time warps all the good things in your life and can turn things can turn very sour very quickly. So who was once the most powerful guy of the underworld is now slinking his way into this decrepit old rundown world of tomorrow to beg for help from a guy who basically used to be his underling, and who is he's petrified of because he had this whole there must be some other way, and then right to be terrified of him because of what happens. But
it actually breaks my heart knowing that Bruce Timm isn't happy with this movie because I specifically thought in this minute his character animation and how terrified he is and how he's tiptoeing around and sorry I showed up kind of unannounced, it's really great. It does stand out to me as just a really solid animated character.
Should note though as well, the thing is because they're always so scarce with the references, but obviously when those robots start to break down, you get the sound effect that's going and did you clock what it's from? It's a very particular sound effect that's it's ingrained in a lot of people's minds.
No, what is it?
It's the sound of the hyperdrive from the Millennium Falcon when the Empire Strikes Back. When
really?
When they're battering trying to get it to go, and every time it fails, it goes. That was, of course, made by Ben Burt back in 1979 or 80. It's basically, I'm sure it was probably not the same exact sound effect, but it's all he did was he just recorded the inertial dampener of a biplane, which just sounds like that anyway, and then mix a bunch of other stuff in. But then, of course, it just pops up in loads of other movies, as a kind of little, not quite a Wilhelm scream, but kind of a little nod in terms of it's in Temple of Doom, it's in Star Trek 3, I think the Excelsior makes the noise at one point. It's in RoboCop when they shoot the Ed 209, when they have to get the Ed 209 to it overrides and it shoots that guy and then it kind of breaks down. The noise it makes it, and you can't help but even though he'd been on the show at this point, and people were aware of this Joker voice, it's kind of a little before he even shows up, a little reference to who's playing the Joker. Before you actually hear the voice.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. I think they only ever did it 2 more times that I can recall. And there's probably more because I've not read all the tie-in material and stuff. But after we're done recording, I'm going to sample it and use it in the People's Joker because I'm actually going back in this month and kind of putting my hopefully final finishing touches on it. If you have the opportunity to make box canon at that point, by all means, please do.
Yeah, we'll see. I think I want to save that for the sequel, because the sequel is going to be 10 years later. I love the idea of we just settle in and we see them together years and years down the road into their relationship after they've gone through some of the trials and tribulations that would go along with being like such a sought after tabloid couple.
Just having to get
yeah,
Robert
we
Wool to
also-
do another
'cause we also-
cameo would be like, oh, but what am I saying? It's just like having to put like a little, a little, like an iPhone next to the Bob in the movie and be like,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys are a couple now, okay?
Yeah, no, that's great. Maybe a post-credit sequence. So throw a tease in there.
But yeah, I think I remember there's an episode, it's the Mad Love episode, where Gordon goes for like a dental thing and Harley and Joker attack him. And because it's a dentist thing, the Joker at one point goes like, "May the floss be with you," and throws in a grenade or whatever. And like, oh, there's a Star Wars reference. That's like the one overt one they ever made on the show. And then there's like a one of the Harley and Ivy tie-in comics that I have to hand. I made a note of it last year when I was doing a lot of looking into Poison Ivy at the time for, show reasons. And I know there's a bit where Harley beats up a guy who's dressed as the Joker, thinking it is the Joker, and then like tears his nose off. And the guy's in such a daze, he's going like, Dagobah, Yoda, and all that stuff. Another little Empire nod, from finding Luke in the snow at the start. That's the only two ones. I'm sure people will correct me. I'm sure someone will come in and go like, nope, there's Star Wars references here throughout the other episodes, like in the Justice League and stuff like that. But those are the ones I can think of. I'm surprised that they're restrained, because if I had Mark Hamill to hand, I would be constantly doing like. And the thing is, Mark Hamill's he's such a nerd himself. He would be into it. Like
It also makes sense for like I feel like the like Bruce Timm version of the Joker is like he is like operating on some like super sanity frequency where he almost knows he's like a cartoon character.
Yeah.
And like he would know that he's voiced by Luke Skywalker, so he should kind of be making more like kind of like overt references.
Well,
I think.
There's things in this minute that are so like, it's really if you, particularly if you had never seen the animated series before, if your introduction to like this version of the universe was just this movie, the stuff that Joker does it's so like, whoa, what's happening now? Because it's kind of built up to be like fairly realistic. Like it's all kind of like, I can buy this, except some of the Phantasm stuff's very fantastical. But, you can kind of buy like, oh, smoke and mirrors, et cetera, et cetera. And then, of course, there's like things where, they're like, oh, I'm here in business. Like, oh, business. And that way he jumps in front of him. And there's like a little sound effect, like a Bugs Bunny sound of like wood stepping up. And it's so cartoony that you're like, oh, yeah, it's a cartoon. Like, and he's
in the fact that he's like, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's basically just to say like he's the Looney Tune.
He is. He's like that. He's got the like the Bugs Bunny super sanity or whatever.
Yeah.
Where he's just is like able to like mug to the camera. And it's also like you said, like because it is so like kind of grounded and realistic for I think I think it's like even more so than there's something about it that feels a little bit more mature than the animated series to me. When he finally shows up, it's so disorienting because like he's just completely unhinged for like 3 minutes straight and like is like all the like talking to his like robot wife or whatever, and like it's just like, does he actually believe that, or is he just doing that to with this guy? Or like it's so, I don't know, it's great.
There's so many, just and everything that's happening like here now, like the robots going off and him shooting them, and then having this kind of like, gasp, can it be? Oh, Sally the Weasel of Alastra. Like it's kind of like you're kind of like, I don't buy that he's surprised to see him, because he obviously set those robots off to freak him out. And, and he said that little scout thing, like the little, like in the previous minute, this little buzzing, drone thing came overhead. And, everything about it is just like, I'm here on business. Like, oh, business sounds like he doesn't really care what Valestra's saying, because he doesn't, it's just like, oh, yeah, whatever he has to say, I'm going to kill him. Like, he's here, I'm going to kill him anyway. But I might as well just hear what he has to say first, and then whatever I'll do. I love it so much as well, because it's so specifically like, it's got that, another point of like the animated series and stuff, you'll see like the Laughing Fish episode, opens with them finding the Joker fish out in the nets. And Batman's just watching and he's like, oh, he's made his move. As if like the Joker's out, something's going to happen eventually. And I love this thing, though, of he's kind of been like summoned, like he's Beetlejuice or something. Like the world was just going on, and then this guy had to go like, okay.
Well, the fact that he's like underground or something, like he's been in hiding, like he's like Pennywise in this or something. There's
totally.
something really, and like I don't know, and watching it, like, because like having seen it, you know, like Joker in this like knows that basically like everybody's getting picked off like before anybody else, so like he's waiting for her to show up and like either kill him or not, but like I don't know, it's just something so like mystical and about it that I really didn't remember from like watching it as a kid. Like I actually, I mean, you asked when I watched if I remembered like the first time I saw it. I don't remember the first time I saw it, and I think that is because I probably watched it mostly in pieces as a kid, like on a VHS tape or like just if it was on TV or something. And I don't know if I liked it that much. I think I only really liked the Joker parts.
Yeah.
Just because of how like kind of gritty and like noir, and like the fact that it's also like about Batman kind of grappling with like not wanting to be Batman anymore, and like I just don't know that really appealed to me as a kid, but really watching it this time, it's such like an effect. It's just such an effective like Batman story. I'm so glad like it like people love it now.
But here's the thing though, we kind of touched upon it a bit on the first movie, but because that first film's so like it's because it's Jack Nicholson's Joker, and Jack Nicholson's got sort of an aggressive, sleazy sexuality about him, and it seems like, oh, that guy, Jack Nicholson, fuck, he's it always seems like he's fucking women, like that's his whole deal. So his Joker didn't seem as queer coded as and this one, from the opening seconds, there's kind of a like there's that vibe, like even got like when he's doing like, oh, Sally Lou, like he's sort of like batting his eyelids and they've elongated, and it's kind of like quite like a feminine sort of look they've given him. And his
like wife too, the fact that his wife is this like broken robot woman, and he's like, oh, meatloaf again, I have that for lunch. Like he's pretending to be a man. Like it feels very, it's like very affected, and I don't know, like that's another thing that I think I didn't really ever feel watching the Hamill Joker until like revisiting all this stuff as an adult, and like kind of seeing like there's that there's a fluidity there.
Oh, totally, because it's just even like even later on in the movie too, he's just like, oh, he looks more like the ghost of Christmas future, nowhere near as cute as Batsy. Like it's kind of got this this affectionate way of talking about Batman, and there's the thing is, it's always in the Joker. Like if you look at any other iteration of him, like even the Heath Ledger's Joker had the moment of dressing up in the nurse's uniform. You have like even going back to like the base level of the character, like the inspiration from The Man Who Laughs. Conrad Veidt is was openly well known bisexual actor back in Weimar Germany days, and then obviously up through and beyond. And he was like most famous, obviously the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which is also a heavily queer-coded movie. And then had the movie Different from the Others, which is like one of the first ever, like it's about an openly gay man played by Conrad Veidt.
Wow.
And so like a violin teacher falling in love with a student. And of course, apparently people were so hateful at the time that they were like releasing rats into the cinemas, and then the Nazis came along and they're like, what is this movie? But just the fact that that's the inspiration for the Joker, like Conrad Veidt's the man who laughs, and then the legacy just keeps with the character up through. It's just like he is so heavily, and that's why I'm interested with like why you particularly went for playing the Joker, having a Joker fan movie. It's sort of like a Batman fan film. You particularly singled out the Joker as a character.
Well, I think in this kind of just like. If you really, I mean, I don't want to get like too new agey slash stonery academic over here, but like just thinking about the like jester and like clown as like a literary figure, like there is just some dark, there's like some beautiful dark like gender magic that goes along with that sort of like anarchic clown vibe. I can't quite put my finger on it, and I think that was really why the movie, like when because the People's Joker really did start as like a remix of other Batman movies. Like I was basically just making a really long everything is terrible video in the beginning. And then like, you know, it ended up becoming what it became, which is like, you know, all original material and mixed media and blah blah blah. But like I think the thing that made that, you know, I think the thing that pulled me towards like, oh no, we need to just make this is its own thing. Like we gotta like this is a whole new interpretation of these characters, is really like trying to directly confront that like kind of inexplicable just vibe of like of Joker being this weird, like I don't know, just kind of like weird gay dark wizard or something. Like I really like Grant Morrison's Joker Batman dynamic in Arkham Asylum, Serious House on a Serious Earth, I think is the full title. Yeah, like that sort of like in the way the drawings in that comic are just so like, I know a lot of people don't like that book, but like I just love it. Like I love like how it shows tarot, and I love like Joker in it just doesn't feel like a real, like he feels like a real person, but more than anything he like feels like he exists off the page. Like he's so just like abstract and like like a phantom or something, and like he's like grabbing Batman's ass like squeezing it and just like, and like no, it's like clear, like again like the same thing with this like Mask of Phantasm portrayal of the Joker. It's just like I don't understand what this dude's motivation is or like who he is or what he is, but he's just evoking all these things, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
And I think like the queer coded villain itself too is very appealing to me, and like it just makes sense to me why Joker would be like such a beautiful.
It's one of these things now because Disney's remaking all the movies it doesn't need to remake. But there seem to be like ironing out, which I was thinking they're going, oh well, this is a problematic trope to have the queer coded villain, so like Scar, you gotta take care of that. I'm assuming this Little Mermaid was the same thing. It's like, well, it was originally Divine was the inspiration for Ursula. It's like, no, you gotta take all that out now. But like in many ways, though, I'm assuming like I can't speak for it myself, but like I'm assuming there might be a source of pride though in those characters as well. Like
I think so. I mean, like I see, like so it's interesting. Like somebody at a Q&A, we were screening the movie in Australia last month, and somebody at a Q&A, it was actually a cis person, said like, how do you feel about they were like, I loved your movie, but like I don't understand, like did you feel weird at all about like making a trans villain like in 2023 or whatever? And like I mean the answer was no, because like I also just don't think, I've never thought of those characters as problematic. Like I understand like why they are, but if you look at like somebody like Scar, like in The Lion King, who's like really just a fancy boy and like very, very upset, like he's a very gay character. He's a very like, you know, that kind of like weird nobility like gay guy character from that just like general Disney trope. But like his faults in it are like that he's vain and he's a fascist. So like to me it's like I can parse through that stuff, and like I don't know, like I don't know that like you're not demonizing queerness if you're making a character kind of queer. I like that is also flawed.
Yeah.
I think you're just making an interesting character, and
I think it's a big thing with modern media is that like any the representation that's presented in one film that has to represent all people of that type. And I was like, no, you can have a person be a bad guy, and does that necessarily mean that all people in the world who are like that are bad people?
Exactly.
Like it's an insane way of looking at things.
And I think we should have it all. I mean, like, look, I think we should have it all. Like, I think like Love is Love representation, and like, you know, Kmart or Target or whatever having a float at the Pride Parade. Like, I don't want to like get rid of all that stuff, I guess. But like, I mean, like, I just do think like, because again, like, I think like characters in and of themselves, like, the main problem I have with most movies nowadays is like there's just no real conflict, because like, you know, people aren't really making characters. Like they're just kind of writing like Twitter jokes or like, you know, like or social commentary, or like heavy-handed social commentary and stuff, like, and like I think you can like create something that has nuance and is you know, three-dimensional, and also like, I don't know, like particularly like why would like it's okay that if there's art that really does force you to ask yourself, why would a queer person become a villain? Like when society is telling, when like, you know, trans kids are getting their gender health care taken away all across America and the UK and everywhere else too, and like, you know, we're demonized constantly, like it's like, of course, like there should be portrayals of what happens when you do push somebody to the outside of society just because of who they are and how they dress or who they want to love or whatever. It's like, that kind of art needs to exist.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Definitely. I'm fascinated though, like on the ongoing portrayal of this particular iteration of the Joker, in that like, well, people are like, well, how can he be queer when he's with Harley Quinn? And it's like, well, one, it doesn't have to be necessarily just gay. You can be pan or, you know, whatever, basically. But then you go into like things like the Return of the Joker, you know, years down the line, and you even have the portrayal of like him and Harley have a child, but of course they don't have it. They don't have, you know, a child through traditional means. They just adopt a kid. And it almost sees this as like, do Harley and Joker actually have sex? Like, you know, it could be, again, because he's just a master manipulator. There's no need to indicate that he's actually attracted to Harley Quinn at all. He just sees an easy mark that he can make do his bidding and stuff. And it's almost like that.
That's so good. Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think I've never really like thought about that like explicitly, but like that's definitely what my sense of it would be, is just that like they almost have like a fetish relationship. Where it's just literally like, it's the same thing as like in this of him coming in to like a fake dinner table with an animatronic and saying like, oh, meatloaf again. Like, I think he is just like, he's just taking advantage of people and like breaking every taboo and archetype that he can. And is just like just really, and I think that's more up than just if they were just a normal relationship. In the People's Joker, like we kind of take that dynamic and turn it into like a T for T relationship. But like with involving a Jared, another there's actually like kind of two Jokers in the People's Joker. The Joker I play, and then there's also a parody of the Jared Leto Joker portrayed by a trans man named Kane Distler, who's really talented actor.
The only other thing I could think about though, in terms of like the Return of the Joker, is that the fact like the major plot point then in that flashback is that he's converted like Tim Drake into being a Joker. And it's kind of like, is there some commentary going on there? Would that be potentially unpleasant? They're like, yeah, the queer coded villain has now converted the innocent young boy into being just like him. It's like, I hope I'm reading that wrongly anyway, because it seems like that could be. But
that's true. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like it's also like, but then there on the other side of that, a mega wealthy single man with a lot of trauma adopted multiple boys
Yeah, true.
and turned them into killing machines that would stay out all night, and then also would like punish them anytime like they would try to like break out of that archetype, or like you gotta I my favorite part in Batman and Robin is when Batman up multiple times and then Robin gets frozen once, and Batman's like, you gotta take some time off now. You're gonna need to go into the simulator for a few weeks or something. It's just like, dude, like this is a grown man. This is a 35-year-old Robin that you're like holding captive in your home. Like, I don't know. To me, it's like it's just two sides of the kind of the same effed up coin.
I mean, that is true. That's another way to read it. It's like, well, aren't you just like I'm turning. Well, I think the Joker in the movie is going like, well, you always had kids lying around, so you turned them into you. I'm turning this one into me, kind of thing. So that's yeah. A few other things though, because we should move on to minute 39 as well, because I don't want to keep you all day.
Oh yes.
But just want to note things in this minute that popped out to me are, of course, the Salvatore Valestra saying like, oh, don't mean to drop by unannounced, and the Joker going like, oh, Salvatore, why so formal? Which, like, doing it in such close quarters to his face instantly brings up the why so serious kind of vibes to me of like, yeah, it's like, was that a thing? Were they invoking that in any way when they were making the, because I'm assuming they watched the Mask of the Phantasm. They probably watched all the Joker like episodes and a lot of Joker material when they were writing the movie. So I don't know if that's an intentional nod of Chris Nolan going like, well, just we tweaked that a little bit and made it our own thing, and it's become much more. It's become the iconic line of Heath Ledger's Joker. It may well have found its origin right here.
No, it might. It definitely it almost like burnt my ears when he said it, because I was like, oh, it should be serious, not formal.
And then, the other thing I'll just bring up for this minute in particular is that we've been keeping note. Are you familiar with Backstroke of the West?
I don't think so.
It was a big thing that was online a couple of years ago, where someone had taken Revenge of the Sith and then noted the translated from Japanese subtitles into English.
Oh,
and they were I
think I've heard of this.
And they did the title, instead of Revenge of the Sith, they came out with Backstroke of the West. And you're kind of like, yeah. So if you translate English into Japanese and then back into English, it just becomes like comical levels of gibberish, basically. And someone has also done that with Mask of the Phantasm, we found. Oh
wow,
Sally the Weezer Valestra, all that line is it is that when Valestra of the Weasel, it is old combat mission, which is supposed to be it's Sally the Weezer Valestra.
Wow.
Goes on then to a sort of welcome, Paisan. It's been a dog's age. The Joker says, countrymen, that you are welcome directly, so it is the age of dogs. Which I love as a line. I think that's great. I don't love I'm going to have to change, it's been a dog's age into it is the age of dogs.
It is the age of dogs is such a good line.
Again, now you're going back in to re-edit the People's Joker. You work in the age of dogs.
Yeah, no, I think I kind of want to do that like translation pass to the People's Joker.
Oh, 100%.
I'm about to maybe do some French subtitles as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that could be the subtitle for the sequel. Will be like the People's Joker 2: The Age of Dogs.
The Age of the Dogs. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And that's pretty much all I got for minute 38. And we'll roll on into minute 39. But Vera, have you got anything specific you want to say about minute 38?
No, I don't think so.
Well, let's wrap up this episode. Because it's always John who does the wrap up. So now I'm trying to think like you can, and again because it's an automatic thing of John does the outro. I'm always off preparing my notes, so I'm just only kind of half listening to what they say. So I'm like, you can find us on Facebook at the Bat Minute Listeners Cave. We're on Instagram at the Bat Minutes, Twitter at Bat Minutes. And you can find us on all good podcatchers under Bat Minutes. And we've got a TeePublic with loads of stuff. And as John always says, you can buy a cushion and sit on our faces. And Vera, is there anything you'd want to plug? I'm assuming there's one thing in particular you'd want to plug, but by all means, go ahead.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Vera Drew 22. I don't have really any like People's Joker specifics to share, but like if you follow me, you'll get some updates soon. Hopefully, I think we're close to having a little bit more of a concrete release plan soon. Hopefully.
Yeah, lovely. The one other thing I did want to say about this minute in particular is that I've always known the gangster term Cosa Nostra. It's like, it's like a term for the Sicilian mafia. And then...
Oh,
apparently,
wow, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, apparently it translated, it just means our thing. I was like, that sounds way fancier than that. But then, so him saying, mi Cosa Nostra es su Cosa Nostra, and then violently shoving the Velastro, which I love how violently he shoves him out of the way. It means like, so mi casa is su casa, my house is your house. Is saying my our thing is our thing, I guess, which is a much more of a mouthful than mi Cosa Nostra is su Cosa Nostra. But yeah, there it is. We might as well wrap it on up and move on into minute 39. So
awesome.
Next time, we're down to clown. And you can't be too careful with all those weirdos around. We have a raspy rascal's roller coaster reunion with a rib-tickling rapscallion, a looky-loo at the horrid Harlequin's HQ, and his new robotic boo. And a consultation with the Cardinal of Clownery is given a crack as, at long last, the Joker strikes back. You must be this tall to ride the next episode, Bat Freaks. Same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute. I must stop, die Fitta